Welcome to the Filmcast's conversation about Prey, the newest film by Dan Trachtenberg. I'll read the plot summary from IMDb. The origin story of the Predator in the world of the Comanche Nation 300 years ago. Naru, a skilled warrior, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. End quote. Now, before we get to this review and conversation, we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room, the brown bear in the room,
the giant predator in the room.
In the room. Which is that we got conflicts of interest up the wazoo for this thing. I would say
the wazoo.
Jeff Cannata has worked with Dan Trachtenberg in an official capacity in the past. I consider Dan a friend. Jeff, I know does as well, and so you should not assume that this is going to be a completely impartial review of Prey. Just
sure.
gonna put that.
I also hate Dan Trachtenberg. I'm fully impartial.
Freaking hates his guts, which is weird.
The seething rage also makes Devindra impartial.
No, I'm fully in this. We're all a little compromised here.
Exactly. So, so you should just know that going in, if you want to find a review from people who don't know Dan Trachtenberg personally, there's tons of those on the internet.
I would actually recommend the Pop Culture Happy Hours review, which I think was really well done, and also they shouted out the Totally Rad Show, Jeff. So
did they really?
Yeah, it was great to hear that on NPR. Yeah.
Wow. All that said, Devindra Hardawar, why don't we start with you? I mean, I'm curious, your relationship to the Predator franchise. Like, what do you think of these Predator movies? Sure. And then let's talk about your thoughts on Prey.
I really liked. I'm a big fan of the first Predator. Yeah, I grew up on it, so sure.
Awesome.
Count me as a big fan of that movie. Predator 2, I've been meaning to rewatch. I actually just got that iTunes bundle, so I have not rewatched that since like 1990 something. I really liked Predators, the one that had Adrian Brody in it. Yeah. And I think we even reviewed it. Like that was like almost a decade ago at this point. That was a really fun twist on the concept. The Predator. I think we were all a little disappointed by that movie because
you're talking about the Shane Black,
Shane Black coming back to this, like it should have been good. Felt like it was hacked up by the studio, so not a movie I really loved very much. Have to say this movie is as close to being the perfect Predator movie as I can think of. Like it has a lot of the elements from the first movie in there, but it's also like telling a very different story. I think like everything about this movie is well done. I've always loved the way Dan shoots action, and like it is just so crisp and clear here. The set pieces are fantastic. Amber Midthunder is tremendous as a lead in this movie. I love that we have something entirely focused on like the Comanche Nation and like having a Comanche set story, having even the dub available. I haven't seen that yet, but just the fact that they even did that, I think, is a really testament to like how much they were trying to make this feel authentic. Have to say there are a few downsides. I feel like even today our special effects still cannot do some animals very well, so I would love to visual effects. So it's like there are some animals where it's like, yeah, it's clearly CG thing she's running from. I do wish like we kind of get over that hump, and I can even imagine this movie like just remaster those bits at some point to like make it really like a cohesive experience. But that's a problem I've had with pretty much any movie that shows an animal at this point, including RRR, which we all loved as well. So I can get over that. I think everything like that they could do, that Dan could do to like make this movie feel like a legit Predator movie, I think is pretty well done. This is also my point where I'm going to say the Predator is a punk. The punk totally. Ass. Yeah. What kind of a hunter are you? You land on an alien planet. Oh, you're going to be invisible the whole time? Oh, you have these weapons that are thousands of years ahead from the creatures you're hunting? Oh, you're also a giant? You're 8 feet tall and you have armor that nothing could touch? Wow.
That's
amazing that you're a hunter.
That's the point, right? Yeah. That's what human hunters do. Yeah. It's not a fair fight. They sit in the tree with their rifles and wait for deer to walk. I think that's the point.
Yeah.
That's one of the points of this movie is like hunting is lame.
Hunting is lame. And the Predator, so because of all that, you feel good when the Predator gets taken down. So I feel like this movie just really cemented the fact that, man, what are you doing, Predator? You're a species that goes out trophy hunting. You have all the weapons in the world. You have everything in the world to take out so many species. So, not a big fan of the Predator as a species. I'm very anti-Predator, but I do love this movie.
Can you imagine the scene with like Predator and Mrs. Predator? And he's like, I just need a break from all this. I'm sick of the. I need to have a weekend to myself where I can just go hunting. I found this planet. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump from here. Yeah. I'll be back on Sunday.
Bob says it's great. Bob's been there. He says they're not civilized yet. They don't even have weapons. Just go.
Yeah. I just need a weekend to myself. God. No?
Okay. I think you're actually underselling how much of a douchebag the Predator is.
Oh, absolutely.
Because what kind of it's kind of like people who go hunting where not even hunting like Jeff, you were saying hunting in general is lame. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think hunting in the modern day era where it's often like stacked against the animals, where it's like, like let loose like birds and boar like run across the path and you just shoot at them. That's the kind of hunting that the Predator does.
Yeah,
hunting if you're like actually just trying to like survive and live, that like of the kind that some of the characters in this movie were doing before the Predator shows up. That's actually, I could see a lot of value in that, but the kind of hunting that the Predator is doing, I think we're meant to take it as different, right?
But that's not the hunting. That's trophy hunting, which is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Trophy hunting is lame. It's the kind of thing where you shoot you shoot an elephant for its tusks.
Yes.
It's disgusting, and it still happens today. And I think that's part of the point of the Predator franchise, and this movie in particular is. Trophy hunting is for lamos.
Agreed. Jeff Cannata, what were your thoughts on Prey?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts on Prey are best summed up in the form of a limerick. It starts when our hero attacks some birds, but the movie is more than just acting words. My review may be biased, but I rate this the highest because it's made by my buddy Dan Trachtenberg.
Hey, great.
You rhymed Trachtenberg with something, Jeff.
With two things.
You rhymed Trachtenberg. It is incredible.
Yeah.
You're incredible. Truly the Eminem of limericks here.
I'm not able to review this without bias, so I will wear that on my sleeve and say, this is better than the original. I think this is the best Predator movie. I think Dan has made a masterpiece, and I think he's a master. And as my friends, both of you, you know how difficult it is for me to compliment my friends.
It's true.
It's true.
I receive nothing but nonstop criticism from
Exactly.
I live for just validation. I never get it. Yeah.
Right. Not once. And here I am calling Dan a master. That seems highly unlikely that I would say that. And yet the evidence is in the film. I think this is a masterfully made, masterfully presented. There are sequences of such exquisite tension, and the way the camera moves, the way the camera tells the story. And so much of this movie is told through action. So much of the story of this movie and the characterization in this movie is told through action. The way the camera tells that, what it shows you and what it doesn't show you, how it obscures the shot in certain sequences to accentuate the tension of the moment. Masterfully done. It is brisk. It is short. It gets to the point fast and quickly. It packs a wallop. It has really wonderful setups and payoffs. Beautiful. I mean, it's a crime that this movie wasn't released in movie theaters.
Yes.
I have seen this movie twice now. Once I was very fortunate. Dan showed it to me in a movie on the lot in a movie theater. So I got to see it on a big screen in a movie theater. And I also have, a home theater that has a big screen with awesome sound. So I've seen it twice in ways that I think most of the people that see this aren't going to get to see it. And that's a shame because the visuals pop on a big screen. The sound design is phenomenal, and the score is kick ass. I love the score of this movie.
Yeah,
it drives you through it. It elevates the tension, and there is, some of my favorite kinds of action movies. I would put, probably my top 3 action movies of all time. A movie like Die Hard, right? And this is kind of Die Hard Predator edition, right? I mean, I guess Predator is also that, the original Predator. But the idea is
we're really big into one person versus big insurmountable,
insurmountable odds. Yeah, overwhelming odds. Something that seems like you shouldn't be able to do it, and yet through the ingenuity, the tenacity, the pure grit of our main character, we get there. I love movies like this, and this movie does that so well. I never at any point feel like it cheats. It creates really wonderful. Oh my gosh, how are they going to get out of this one moments? I think it is clear. You always understand the motivation of the characters. You kind of understand the motivation of the predator as well.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of all that, it has something to say, which I don't know of if any of the other Predator movies really embraced having a theme that mm-hmm. is resonant to our times. And this movie, you know, in talking about who is dangerous, what is dangerous, who these people are, the things we've already talked about with regard to, you know, hunting as a culture, trophy hunting as a culture. The movie actually has something interesting to say as well. I love it. I think this movie is one of the best movies of the year, and I can't wait to see what Dan does next, because hopefully this catapults him into the stratosphere as he has always deserved to be. And you know, and the fact that this debuted to the biggest opening on Hulu ever, I hope it means that, you know, he'll get all the money to do the next stuff.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of presentation, this is the first time in all of my years doing this podcast where the director of the movie has texted me saying, "Don't watch the critic screener because it'll have this big ugly watermark on it. Like, you gotta wait until you can watch it in 4K appropriately on the TV screen." So I actually had multiple opportunities to watch a compromised version of this film. And Dan Trachtenberg was like, "Don't do it." So I'm like, okay, I waited until, like, you know, with Gen Pop to like watch the movie.
He actually he told me when I got a chance to go to LA and watch it early. He's like, "Well, I'm glad you're seeing this now because now you can watch the trailers."
Yes, exactly. But I might get emotional talking about this movie. So like, I'm just gonna put that out there right now. I think that I think the movie's great. I don't think it's quite as good as The Predator 1, the first Predator, by John McTiernan, but I think it's really great. And for all the reasons you said. I'm deeply moved watching this movie. And there's many reasons for that. One is the obvious one of just seeing someone who I consider a friend, like, ascend to not only like what in our modern world's version of success is, right? Like having a movie that's really widely mm-hmm. watched by millions of people. But also really cement himself as one of the great gifted visual storytellers of our time. You know, like the jump in terms of, I would say, proficiency from 10 Cloverfield Lane to this is massive. Not saying 10 Cloverfield Lane wasn't good, but I think like this
and even that movie is really well staged, like had very clear action compared to so many other things we see today. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, what is expected of Dan Trachtenberg and everyone who is involved in making this in this movie, I think is like an order of magnitude more difficult.
Yeah.
Just the number of action sequences, where they're set, you know, 10 Cloverfield Lane largely took place in one location, you know, like this is multiple locations, outdoors, you know, like and it's really impressive what Dan Trachtenberg was able to accomplish here. But beyond just how good the movie is, what I am so impressed by is the will it took to make this. There are stories online, and I know about them, but basically, like when the script was first passed around, there was at the top of the script all dialogue in Comanche. That was at the top of the first script for this movie, and most people would read something like that and be like, "Oh, like there's no way this movie will ever be made. There's no way if it's made it'll be good. There's no way it won't be tampered with in any significant way." And of course, obviously, it was tampered in a variety of ways, you know, and the dialogue did not end up being in Comanche, but they were able to kind of honor the intent of that by having the Comanche dub.
It would have been incredible if they had been able to make that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Incredible. And I think it's a missed opportunity, unfortunately, from the studio's perspective. But
I think that what he was able to accomplish in terms of representation having an all native cast in this movie.
And no movie stars.
No movie stars. I mean, Amber Midthunder is probably the biggest, one of the biggest stars.
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of things at this point. Also, the dog is quite the star.
Yeah,
I think she'll come out of this. She'll come out of this movie a movie star, but I don't think she came into it a movie star.
Dakota Beavers, too, who plays Tabe, complete badass in this movie. And I believe, like, I saw a headline that he was like working at a TJ Maxx not too long ago, and now he's one of the co-leads of this movie that's now a big hit on Hulu. There were so many obstacles in one's way to make a movie like this, right? Now, not all the obstacles. Obviously, it's a prequel / sequel to a long-running, at one point, high-grossing franchise. So it's not like this is like completely original. But for Dan to pursue it, and just as I think about the will to work on this story, to work on the cast with all these people who you have not seen in most movies, or many movies, to go out into the middle of the forest for months and just shoot this thing and like believe that, and Dan, who's like has not done something of this scale as far as I am aware, right?
And does not enjoy being outdoors.
and just freaking hates camping, and to believe that like the final product is going to be good, it's going to honor the people who have appeared in it, the culture that it has appeared in it, it's going to honor the franchise that it's a part of. It takes so much will and confidence and trust to like to do all that. And when I think of Dan Trachtenberg just doing all that, and like from 10 Cloverfield Lane, like doing this and having this under his hat for many months, because like marketing campaign for this movie didn't really pick up until the last couple months, right? So he's just been working on this in silence. I'm just very, very deeply moved that someone I know could make something this great, and do so at a level of difficulty this hard. I don't know why I'm getting all choked up. Anyway, so I really love the movie, and people should check it out. The other thing is, I think it, as I mentioned, it does great honor to the Predator franchise. Like, this is clearly from somebody who like loves these movies, and the idea that you could fit something in that franchise that's so different than all the other movies is really impressive, just from a production, storytelling, franchise building standpoint. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, really enjoyed the movie. Anything else we want to cover before I get to spoilers?
I mean, I think there are incredible set pieces.
Yeah.
There are incredible sequences. I think the journey that we go on makes a lot of sense. It's very condensed. There's no fat on the bone here. It moves really, really quickly. You get a sense of why these people do what they do, why they hunt. It's very explicitly stated why they have to hunt compared to why the predator has to hunt or wants to hunt, and why other characters that show up in the movie hunt. It's awesome. I think from a script level, it's really awesome. From a story level, it's really awesome. And then the execution, obviously, we've been going on and on about. But I mean, I just love the way the camera tells the story in this, this movie.
Sure. I think awesome. It is. I feel like Dan is really like reaching back to the classical action filmmakers, or at least the ones I grew up with. Like, so like John McTiernan, we talk about his movies, and I feel like people don't remember enough about like the way he framed shots or the way he portrayed action, because things are very different right now, right? Like, it's either you kind of go the John Wick route, right, where you're getting people to train a ton, you're getting highly choreographed action, or you're doing the fast cuts because nobody wants to train, and like you're just trying to hide people in their inexperience. And this is
it's shot on the volume,
or on the volume, or
and it's clear, there's some visual effects here that are obvious, but it's clear that they went out and they actually did a lot of this, and that's really impressive. So
it just feels real authentic, and I love that the camera has time to linger, in so many different shots at times. So yeah, I appreciate the filmmaking so much here.
All right, let's get to spoilers for Prey starting right now. I should have mentioned there was a dream early on where nobody would know that this is a Predator movie until they saw it.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is, it is. I really appreciate that someone like Dan Trachtenberg could dream that that's possible.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's very like old school. Like you can imagine, it's like watching Split and realizing that it's a sequel to Unbreakable. Like that kind of surprise. It's still possible, but it's so hard. In today's modern internet environment, where people such as ourselves will like talk about the latest developments of what's going on in the movie.
That's what we do. I forget when this movie debuted. Was it at a Comic-Con type of thing? Because I feel like if you can't get the sit down and watch the movie and then be surprised by what it is, you can at least get okay, we're going to talk about this new thing. Nobody has heard. You just have a title, right? You don't know what this is. You sit down at a Comic-Con type convention or something, and then you see the trailer, you see it go on, then you see the Predator lights, and hearing the crowd react.
Yeah,
like I would have loved to be in that spot or have like a big public way to debut that at the very least.
Yeah, I think it speaks more to marketing requirements than anything else, and that's the bummer.
So I think that the way the Predator is conceived and constructed in this movie is pretty cool, and it did feel like I went back and watched the original Predator, and it did feel like this is a Predator that was like less advanced than that one.
Yeah, he didn't have the same tech. Yeah,
he didn't have the same tech. Like basically, the Predator from the original had like the 3 dots, which is like an iconic Predator thing, was basically like lasers in the first one, if I recall correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, he's like actually firing objects,
darts.
Not a great system for your weapon. Buddy? Like, really, it just depends on where the dots are, and they auto-home the dots. Also, it makes him even more of a punk ass, right? Because he doesn't really even have to aim, man.
Laser-sighted rifles, man. It's the thing.
Agreed. But the Predator in this movie does have some pretty cool tech, which is the like my favorite thing is when he throws that net over that guy and the net like closes and like completely like disintegrates that guy. It's like, oh my god, that's horrible. What an amazing idea execution. Also, I'm bummed we only saw it one time. Because I was like, oh my gosh, is that going to come back later in a really cool way? But yeah, like all the Predator tech I thought was really well done. A lot of shout outs to the original Predator, like the spraying the skull. That's a thing that happened in the original. It actually looks kind of cooler now that they have better visual effects today than it did in the original film.
Do you like the new Predator outfit? Having another alien skull on your head is that's cool. That's interesting. Yeah.
Bone armor.
As opposed to in the original Predator, he has kind of like a metallic mask, right? He has like bone armor in this one, But thematically, Jeff, you were talking about like what this movie is trying to say, and I think the movie is trying. One thing that did kind of lose me a little bit was, I think the movie's trying to say, like, who's the real predator? Who's the real prey in the situation? And there's this question of like these French people. Who, I mean, we all knew the French were horrible, obviously, but this movie takes a real bat to their reputation. I'm just joking. I love the French, but
all the colonial powers, you're all guilty of of a lot of this stuff.
I'm shocked that the French got the brunt of it and not like Americans, but what else?
Talk about like authenticity. I saw there was a thing going around where the French they speak in this movie is also not like modern French. It's more like what they speak in Quebec, which is more of like several hundred years old. So even that's actually a way to make it sound more legit. And a lot of modern French speakers are like, this accent is terrible. I can't understand anything going on here.
It was interesting the way that the movie handled language, though, because there is a moment when she interacts with one of the French people, kind of like a Hunt for Red October moment, almost. Where I guess we're supposed to take that French guy can speak her language, right?
He says, "I speak a lot of languages."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so kind of interesting the way it handled it. But I think we're supposed to take. Yeah, go ahead.
I love that they don't subtitle the French. That it is foreign to her, and we are experiencing through her eyes. So she doesn't know what they're saying, and neither should the audience. I love that.
It is kind of rare that the Western language, right, is the one that's being othered a little in that sense. So even that alone was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And clearly the idea here, right at the beginning, there's this this notion that there's something coming. We need to move. There's something coming here that will kill us. And because we're in a Predator movie, we go, oh yeah, that space aliens arrive. We saw the ship show up in the first shot. The aliens coming there. They have a sense of the alien coming in. They're going to kill them all. It's like, no, it ain't the big sci-fi space alien that we're talking about here. And I think that's kind of the I mean, one of my favorite things in the entire movie, it's so brilliantly done, is that we see the snake you see the Predator strip the snake, skin the snake. Yeah. And then she comes upon the buffalo having been skinned. And we assume, oh, the Predator's been skinning some buffalo as well. No, that's not who skinned the buffalo. And when she realizes, oh, it wasn't the Predator who skinned the buffalo, it was these jagoffs. So I love that, because we see, oh, yes, the Predator is looking for a challenge, is looking for, he's going to take down the apex predator of this world. He's constantly trying to level up through this thing. He takes down the wolf. He takes down the snake. He takes down the bear. He's trying to find the apex predator of Earth to have the biggest challenge. So it's like, oh yeah, no, it didn't even make sense that he would take down buffalo. Like, he doesn't care about buffalo just quietly roaming the plains. It's these guys that would waste these creatures that drove them to extinction just to get their pelts, And I love that the movie isn't afraid to embrace that and have something real to say in the midst of this high octane, very short, just all action all the time kind of movie.
I would say my one complaint with the story is this idea of these flowers that kind of cool the blood. It felt a little bit too video gamey to me, like you're taking the power up and now the predator can't see you. And in the original, they handled it by having Arnold Schwarzenegger cover himself with mud, right? Which I don't know is much more convincing. But yeah. Anyway, on that note, what was also fascinating to me was trying to imagine what this movie gives you. Is it allows you to imagine what would it have been like for someone from the 1700s to see futuristic technology. It would have been completely mind-blowing. Like when they see when they see like, one of the Predators like bombs or whatever, they're like, what is it? Or when they see like laser lights, can you imagine like if you got hit with laser, you had no idea what this even was? Like there's no technology in the world that can emit this. And people have commented on how what this movie shows is you need to start inserting the Predator into more historical situations.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this needs to be like the Assassin's Creed franchise. It's like Predator in the Renaissance, Predator in the Renaissance,
Predator with samurai, Predator with 1920s era gangsters, like Predator with like all these different kinds of people. And this is the thing, in praise of the story, it keeps things so simple. Like you remember Shane Black's The Predator, the 2018 movie, like that Predator was actually trying to stop us from global warming, guys, and like
I don't remember anything about that movie. That movie
like
doesn't exist.
It's like, dude, you are so overcomplicating it. It's just a predator he's hunting thing. That's the whole movie. You don't need anything else. I mean, you do need other things, but like, like they keep the story simple but satisfying and effective. And all Predator movies should be this way. Yeah, I don't know why they got all tied up with the Predator lore. You know what I mean?
It felt really refreshing watching this movie after watching Carter 2, which is a movie where too much stuff. You got zombies. You got North Korea government. You've got you're also an assassin who's lost his mind. Also, your child's in danger. Also, the CIA's involved. Simple and clean. Yeah, this is nice.
No, I agree. I made that joke about the Predator's family leaving before he goes on the hunting trip and all that stuff. And you kind of think about that, and a lot of the Marvel comics about Predator like go into like Predator Planet, and what's Predator Planet like? And my opinion is we should never know what Predator Planet is like. It doesn't matter what Predator Planet is like. The entire idea of Predator is it's a lone predator who goes to a planet and tries to kill the biggest, baddest thing there. And that's all we need to know. It doesn't matter. All of it, everything else is irrelevant because it's
Don't say it, Jeff. You're saying it now, and you were basically saying, I should pitch this idea of a whole Predator, franchise movie, and let's go back to the home planet. Let's figure out everything.
No,
they're going to do that, and they're going to ruin it.
Don't go back to the home planet. Don't go to the home planet.
Do it.
But I like the idea of it is streamlined. It is Die Hard. It is like it's just one thing against another thing in an interesting environment. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
How are they going to do it? How are you going to take down something that is more potent than you? That the odds are against you. How do you do it? And I think that's the fun of the Predator movies: is how do you do it? How does Schwarzenegger do it? How does Amber Midthunder do it? That's what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Relating to all the stuff I said before when I got really emotional about this movie, I think the inverse or the other side of that is there's so many ways this movie could have gone wrong. Like there's so many ways that this movie could have been bad or terrible or criticized harshly by the community, and it's just like I'm not saying it's beyond reproach. Like there's people who should criticize it however they feel comfortable, but like I think that Dan Trachtenberg was aiming for a very small bullseye, and I think he pretty much hit it. And it's like, but there's you don't see all the other misses that could have happened because I think he made it look effortless. He made the representation and the look effortless, and the action look effortless, and all these other things. The casting look effortless. And that's what I think is also kind of doubly impressive about it. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I don't want to tell stories out of school or anything, but I will tell you, as somebody that is buddies with Dan and talked to him over the years of him developing this, and also saw an early screening and saw where the movie was at that time and where it is now and how that has changed. It is so interesting to see how much effort and thought and stress went into very, very small things, and how many of his worries that consumed him as he was making it ended up not being an issue at all. And I don't think it's because they weren't ever going to be an issue. It's because he did all that worry and thought and stress, and he put all that effort into it. But it's cool to me, like all these things that he would spend so much time and energy trying to worry about, no one has brought up. Like so many things no one has. I have not seen anyone online bring up some of the things that he spent so much time. And another thing that is really cool, not having this kind of perspective from my own personal perspective on it that I don't usually get with movies, is to see how fine-tuning little things in the movie from the cut I saw to the final cut clarified so many moments and so many ideas so beautifully, and like seeing how he was working through that, and simple ways that movies can accentuate certain things or direct your attention in certain ways so that your things are not unclear. And Dan's prowess and confidence with being able to identify those things and do it, and know in the edit room that he's able to do that, it's so cool to see.
And I think one of the reasons there hasn't been like a big backlash to this movie, and maybe one will come, I'm not saying it will never happen, but is that he got most of the things right. Like first of all, the movie's good. That alone is like huge points, right?
Yeah.
Like there's been many movies that have like bad representation and the movie's bad, and like then it's like, okay, well, what is there here, but I think that the movie's good, and I feel it, as you said, it takes great pains to try to get these small details right, starting with the casting. And one of the things that I really appreciate is like all these actors who I've never seen before on screen. I'm now like, wow, I need to like follow these people. These are clearly like major talents. I was really sad when Tabe died in the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, like I understand why you need to do that from a storytelling perspective, but that guy was such a badass. Can you imagine carrying this person home like for miles on your back while she's knocked out? Like that's hard. He's Dakota Beavers is awesome in that role, but obviously Amber Midthunder, I mean, she's the star of this movie. She has to carry the whole movie, and she does it.
And she does. Yeah.
So,
another little bit that I love is the mirroring of the shot of Tabe bringing back the lion head, how that shot were like on his feet as he walks back to camp, bringing the trophy. And then we see that at the last shot of the movie is, well, not last shot, but one of the last shots in the movie is her doing the same with the predator head. It's like, it's such cool mirroring of those two moments.
A lot of great shots in the movie. I'll just throw out a couple. Like there's a shot early on when like they're all heading into the forest lit only by torchlight. I'm like, this is like staggeringly beautiful. Like
beautiful stuff.
And
there's a shot of her walking out of the village, and she's passing by all the women who are going to be going and doing the gathering part, and it tells so much. I love a long shot that tells you so much about what's happening and about these characters.
They're going opposite directions.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then there's the one take action sequence where she takes out all those dudes, which is just like incredible as well. And I'm sure he had to get a good one-er into the movie, and I was like, he did it. So
even the sequence where she's teaching herself how to use the axe with the rope is so badass, and the sound design in that moment, the sound, how it echoes,
satisfying.
It echoes through the forest, the hitting of the shunk, and it just wow. My two favorite sequences in the movie are the bear sequence with her hiding and how we see the predator take down the bear. Through the branches inside her perspective. It's just so incredible. And then that smashing, and then the bear's face landing right next to her. And then the only way we see the predator is because the blood comes down on it. It's incredible. And then my other favorite sequence is the homage to Never Ending Story, with her sinking in the mud.
Terrifying. Terrified me since I was a child. Yeah.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Atreyu! Try! But I loved the musicality of that sequence, in how she's going down. She knows the solution. I have a rope. I have an axe. Throw it. Oh, I got it. No, I don't got it. Oh, I missed. Oh, I missed again. Oh, I got it. Break branch. It's like it's so wonderfully plays with your expectation, with your emotion, and it makes it not easy. It's not easy for her to do it. And then finally we get that overhead shot where she's just like, I got nothing. I'm going down. I have one last throw. It's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it.
I love in that sequence where she doesn't freak out, because I think by this point she probably knows, like, if you freak out in quicksand, you're going down faster. And it's all that control and determination. Like, that is basically the entire movie. That's how she kills the predator, basically. Yeah.
I really enjoy a lot of the references to the other Predator movies. Like I said, like it's so difficult to make an action movie that's good, and then it's difficult to like make an action movie that's good with working within the constraints of another franchise, and then also do honor to that franchise. And Dan was able to pull it off. But there's a bunch of like visual references. We talked about like the skull and the dots and all that stuff. Like there's a bunch of like very obvious things.
Mud. The fact that we have the predator coming out of the mud, exactly how Schwarzenegger comes out of the mud.
Loved it. Yeah.
So cool. I love I think both in the original Predator movie and in this one, like, the first appearance of the infrared or the thermal vision is like really shocking and upsetting, because you're like, ooh, like these people are being watched, but like, what is doing the watching? And like, you slowly find out, and this movie very much like does honor to that idea as well, where you kind of like are slowly finding out what this thing is. And it's even more jarring in this case because there's nothing in the planet that has this technology. Also, of course, many people have pointed the one kind of like part where I was like, oh, this is a little bit maybe clunky is too strong of a term, but like kind of like, oh, like you're clearly kind of doing something fan servicey is right at the end when the gun is handed over. Do you know what I'm talking about? So there's a gun that says Raphael Adolini on it, which is seen at the end of 1990s Predator 2.
Right.
And I'm just going to read to you from Vulture's explanation of what this is in case you're curious. But like, Predator 2 ends with the arrival of a group of predators coming to collect their dead. Just before they fly off, one of them throws the pistol to LAPD Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, played by Danny Glover, perhaps as a sign of respect. At the time, the gun was a revelation. It implied that the predators had been hunting on Earth for many centuries, long before Arnold Schwarzenegger made what we believe was humanity's first contact in Predator 1. The weapon's backstory was fleshed out in the 1996 anniversary anthology issue, A Decade of Dark Horse #1, in the story Predator 1718, which opens with Spanish pirate Rafael Adolini, whose crew mutinies against him when he seeks to return stolen gold to the church for which it had been destined. And as he battles his crew, a nearby predator watches, and the predator decides that Adolini is a worthy target. So Prey takes place in 1719, 1 year after Adelini's demise, although it stops short of confirming the Dark Horse story as canon, but it leaves us with lingering questions like, how did a Spanish pirate's pistol end up in the hands of French hunters in America?
Good question.
Anyway.
Now you're talking about a Predator pirate movie, and sign me up.
That very easily could be the next one, is like the story of how that pistol got there, right? So not only has Dan Trachtenberg made a great Predator movie, but he's like kicked open the doors of the entire franchise to like, now here is the template for what you can do in the future. So anyway, brilliant work. Any closing thoughts?
We haven't talked enough about the dog. The dog is very good. It's a very good dog. Good movie dog. Also,
I believe it was a rescue.
From the Atlanta area. So, I guess they shot a bunch around here. Yeah.
But yeah, the dog did good. The dog was very good boy. So. Well, I think that's going to bring us to the end of our conversation. And at the end of the day, it's extremely impressive.
Incredible.
That Dan Trachtenberg made this movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.